We all make mistakes. No one's perfect, and that's a fact. But for some reason, there's always an urge to be perfect, to be what others expect you to be.
Want to be perfect.
We get so caught up trying to please the people around us and even the people we don't know by trying to be perfect. But what is perfection? It's honestly just some arbitrary standard that you've set yourself based on what you've read, videos you've seen, and what you think other people around you deem as successful. I just came out of the movie Joyride, which is a comedy about a girl named Audrey who travels to China with 3 of her friends to close a business deal. And of course, the trip goes sideways and hijinks ensue. It's got that really chaotic group dynamic Hangover or Bridesmaids vibe. And the main character, Audrey, she's exactly this type of person. She's a complete perfectionist. She's always done well in school. She always receives praise from others. She's got a prestigious job and she's up for a huge promotion. Her background is that she was adopted by white parents and she grew up as one of the only Asians in a predominantly white community. So the feeling of never quite belonging and always just being seen as different translated into her desire to constantly prove herself. Prove that she could do anything that the other kids could do, or even better. That what made her different from everyone else wasn't something that held her back. This need to be perfect pushed Audrey to focus on things that don't really matter and aren't really that important. Trying to do things a certain way and act in a certain way to make sure that she's always liked.
I just want people to like me.
Rather than doing things and making choices for herself. And on top of all this, Audrey really struggled with identity. Not only was she different from the white people in her community, but she was also very different from the people she shared a common heritage with. When she goes to visit Asia on her business trip, she sticks out like a sore thumb. She doesn't like the food, she doesn't speak the language, and she doesn't understand the culture. This lack of control in her deep cultural identity adds to her need to control all these other aspects of her life in order to fit in any other way possible. A big part of this film was that Audrey continued to claim that she didn't want to know who her birth mother's identity was, saying that knowing her identity wouldn't make a difference. She was so convinced that she was living this perfect life, and I guess everyone around her was telling her that. She was so afraid of how meeting her birth mother and learning her true cultural identity, how that was going to impact her perfect life. The 3 friends she travels with, Lolo, Kat, and Deadeye, they're all very different. Lolo is a bit of a burnout, she makes taboo art. Kat went to college with Audrey and she's now a famous Chinese actress who acts in traditional Chinese dramas. And Deadeye is a K-pop loving oddball. But the one thing they share altogether is their imperfection and their ability to embrace that imperfection. And they don't simply do things for the approval of others. And the big difference between them and Audrey is that they each have a strong sense of identity and a strong connection with their heritage and culture. Obviously, the arc of the movie is Audrey learning all of these lessons and realizing that with her friends who support her no matter what, that she shouldn't be so concerned and worried about what everyone else around her thinks. And she should just fully embrace and accept her identity. And just quickly on the movie, it is genuinely hilarious. The 4 girls are all so different, but all relatable in a different way, and they just have this great chemistry. The movie is ridiculous, it's raunchy, and it definitely pushes a lot of boundaries, but definitely in a good way, so it's definitely worth a watch. The greater lesson here is that we need to live our lives for ourselves and not for others. It's often hard to cut through the noise of what everyone thinks, what everyone's telling us to do, and what society is telling us to do. It's even hard to distinguish, what society wants, what your parents want, from what you actually want yourself. And the only way to actually work these things out is to push yourself out of your comfort zone, to try things that you wouldn't normally do. It's because it's there that we see who we really are. We work out what actually works for us and what doesn't, what truly motivates us, and what we want deep down. So don't be afraid of change and don't be afraid of imperfection. Anyways, I hope that made sense and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.